Stranger Things 5 wasn't a home run, but at least it wasn't Game of Thrones Season 8. Welcome to Vega's World. I'm JC Vega, and let's dive in. After nearly a decade and 5 seasons, Stranger Things has come to an end. There has been endless fan theories about whether the Mind Flayer is controlled by Vecna or the other way around. What's its connection to the Upside Down? Would Byler be fulfilled, though that's more fanfic, and all other points in between. Getting a project started has its challenges, but it's relatively easy. There's no expectations. You're free to create. But when your little small-town sci-fi mystery show becomes a mega hit and it's heavy in the cultural zeitgeist, you've got a lot of pressure to stick the landing, something the Duffer Brothers stressed upon over and over again in the documentary One Last Adventure. You didn't even need a documentary to figure that one out. Let's just take a look at all the recent popular shows that didn't do so well in their finales. Lost, Dexter, How I Met Your Mother, all widely popular, all well-received, all crashed and burned. I would have released this video weeks ago, but I wanted to sit with it, digest it, really examine if it was as bad as everyone says it is. I've watched the season multiple times, so let's get through the pros and cons. The time jump. Now, I understand most people are complaining that it didn't pick up where season 4 left off, but I understand that between the pandemic and the strikes, that wasn't going to be feasible. What I am going to complain about is Hawkins being more or less the status quo and, oh, who cares, we're under military occupation, la-di-da-da-da. Nah, man. Instead of Will being taken and like Vecna being like, we're going to do such beautiful things together, why not start the season with the Demogorgons attacking Hawkins and the military having to fight them? The military wins and have a victory, but Vecna's like, all right, that's what I wanted. And it just has the whole town living under, fear that something else is going to happen in that time, instead of it just being like, everything's hunky-dory, nothing to see here, folks. We had an earthquake, la, la, la.
There's nothing to worry about.
The whole melting room thing, I get it's supposed to be a visual representation of Nancy and Jonathan being suffocated and drowned in their lies, and that once they're honest with each other, it stops. But did the military try to shoot at it too? Did any of them survive? They all just got melted into the room? What's the deal with that? Seriously, I want to know. Does anyone know? Can anyone explain that to me?
I got nothing, Shannon. Nothing.
But as far as the breakup itself, I didn't realize it was a breakup. I just thought they agreed to work on their relationship and be honest with one another and not get married to fix things. But I guess that makes me media illiterate. Or it was badly written. Both could be true. Shut up, you thought the exact same thing that I did.
Do you need to be told everything? You're not a child.
Nell Fisher was great as Holly Wheeler. I don't mind if they aged her up a little bit. What I do have a problem with is the fact that neither Mike nor Nancy put together the fact that she has an imaginary friend trying to protect her from monsters. Why didn't they stop and think, could this be Vecna? I mean, Vecna took Will. The Mind Flayer took over Billy in season 3. You don't think that your sister would get involved in some way? You're just going to dismiss it and be like, oh, she's just a kid with an imaginary friend. She is way too old at this point to be having an imaginary friend. Y'all should have investigated that just a little bit more. And those characters are way too smart to not think of that. So why did it take Holly getting kidnapped and their parents ending up in the hospital for them to finally decide this could be Vecna?
Yeah, I'm just making sure.
I was upset by the lack of the party being together. Now, they had some scenes together, but we needed more. It's the final season. The last time we were going to have these characters together. They needed more involvement with one another. Shout out to Linda Hamilton for getting the easiest bag of her life.
Genius. Pure genius.
Just wear Matthew Modine's wig, look at the camera menacingly, and ask, where's the girl? That's all she did this season. You could have given her way more to do.
This isn't going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Will's coming out scene. Now, that was a big bone of contention online for a lot of people. The sentiment, I can appreciate. The execution, not so much. You could have done that a whole lot better. Will alluded to the fact that Vecna showed him things, but why didn't we see that? Now, you don't need characters throwing slurs at Will, but you could have had non-dialogue moments where Will becomes isolated because of his homosexuality. It should have been more of a war in the minds between Will and Vecna. In episode 4, Vecna told Will the reason he was chosen was because he was weak. Well, what if there were moments where Will is trying to break Vecna and try to find moments like his time in the cave where he gets the powers, or some other moment where he's in high school, something to show that he is vulnerable to. Point where he almost wins, he throws that secret back at Will to try and break him. Because, hey, if you live your truth, if you live as a out and out gay man, you are going to be lonely. And him telling his mother and his friends could have been more powerful because he's taking that power away from Vecna and he's fully accepting who he is. And also, there should have been a moment where Mike registers all of this and that he's the Tammy in the situation. That would have been nice because, like, he was just sitting there looking. Now, we get that moment on the tower later on where he's like, we're friends. We're best friends. That's fine. But there needed something in that moment, too, where he's like, oh, huh, that does make a lot of sense. You could have that worry still for Will that Mike will not accept him, but, you know, we get that payoff. And I'll be honest, the fan theory where Will was gay, I wasn't necessarily on board with. I felt that people were taking the dialogues from season 1 where Joyce said that Lonnie would call him the F word, and the fact that he wasn't into manly things was just something that, you know, an 80s dad would do who is, you know, closed-minded. I just thought they were just making a mountain out of a molehill. And even when it did come out in season 4 that Will was gay, it didn't necessarily bother me at all. And I had no thoughts on it. It was just like, all right, okay, that's a thing. Not necessarily the choice I would have gone with if I were writing the show, but, you know, I don't hate it. And I'm not going to be upset that it's, you know, in the show. It's whatever. 12 kids. Why do you have 12 kids? I don't know. The writers say they don't know. They just chose 12 kids. Why not add that to like the clock motif that Vecna had in season 4? You could have done the whole thing where they were like, yeah, one kid helped open the rift and kind of bridge the upside down with Earth. But like, in order to drift worlds together, you need 12 kids, and the 12 kids work like gears in a clock. I don't know. Something to that effect. You're the writers. You couldn't have thought of that? Really?
It just raises too many questions.
And then Vecna's backstory. Like, we didn't get a whole lot of anything. We got allusions to stuff within the cave. Yeah, that's great and all, but like, you could have done something. And I know there's a play, The First Shadow, and that's coming out now, which is totally backwards. You should have released that on Netflix, like, I don't know, 2 months before season 5. It's too little, too late now. I mean, it wouldn't have necessarily made up for the lack of context within the actual show itself, but it would have been something. It's the big climactic fight. The Abyss, the Mind Flayer, and Vecna are going toe-to-toe with our kids. They need backup, but there are no Demodogs. There are no Demogorgons or bats, but that's their homeworld, right? We saw it in season 4. Well, one writer had the same thoughts we did, and this was the response.
There have to be some monsters in the Abyss.
I agree.
There has to be Demogorgon, bat, dog, like something. It's crazy if there's nothing there, I think.
You know what that means? That means, hey, that's a great idea, but we've already made up our minds, so we're not going to do it. Now, maybe, just maybe, the budget had already ballooned and they didn't feel comfortable asking Netflix for more money, or they were within that tight budget and they've already spent that on other things, and just to rework the final act, even though it's the final act and the final fight, you know, they just, maybe it wasn't possible. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's like this writer said.
Maybe feel wonder about demo fatigue at the...
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Woman, it is the final season, the final time we are going to see the Demogorgons, the Demobats, and the Demodogs. You think that the fans are going to be fatigued by that because, oh, there was a couple of fights within the first volume of this season, and other seasons we had them? Like, no, they're not. It's the final fight. It needs to have elevated stakes. What if, now this is just me spitballing here, what if there was an uneasy alliance with the military and our group after Vecna's appearance, and Dr. K agrees to lend her people to fight this force? Now, you could have had the military fighting the Demodogs and Demogorgons in Hawkins, and then some other military members, along with our adult group members, in the Upside Down, and the kids in the Upside Down fighting Vecna, fighting the Mind Flayer, Will either killing the Demogorgons or using them against the Mind Flayer and Vecna. It would have definitely raised the stakes and created some fun tension, maybe a little seesaw battle again with Vecna, the Mind Flayer, and Will in order to control them, and gives Joyce something to do before she cuts off Vecna's head. Just a thought.
So we're technically in more of the brainstorming phase.
Brainstorming.
Max's mom, Susan, where is she? Her daughter is in a coma. Now, if I were a parent with a child in a coma, I would be there every waking moment. So why was Susan not there? Why was she not at the graduation? It'd have been a little sweet moment to have, Susan and Lucas have a little bit of an exchange while he's visiting her. I mean, you guys are great at writing sentiment. That would have been in your ballpark for real to have some moment between them, just a little bit. But then again, maybe Katie Trey Fry had mother fatigue.
What the fuck is this? Whose ass didn't I kiss? Huh?
Now, Jennifer Marshall, the actress who played Susan, was battling cancer, and if she would have been on the show, it definitely would have helped cover her treatment. And also, what a good PR move for the Duffers that have been if they'd have been like, yeah, this lady, she's a trooper. She came to work for us when she's battling cancer. And if her being on the show helped out with her treatment, that's a win in our book. Been great PR for you guys and Netflix, too. I mean, come on, man. Joyce Byers, the same Joyce Byers who was actively searching for Will. When everyone said he's dead and she needs to, come to grips with that and move on. She kept fighting for him. In season 2, when the doctors ignored her pleas, she kept fighting and advocating for her son. In season 3, she was one of the ones who discovered, hey, there's something that's weird going on in this town. Like magnets are just falling out of nowhere. What's going on? This woman has been active since day 1. So why in this season was she reduced to like a sniveling, oh my God, my poor Will. Why? No, he's got to be wrapped in a bubble and, protected. I gotta protect Will. Will has superpowers now. He can more than handle himself, all right? So, I don't understand why we changed her character all of a sudden where she's just, passively I'm here, and I've got some stupid suggestions that the group thinks are stupid, and they're reacting like, oh, this is a bad idea. She was a way more savvy and active character than that previously. So why the change up now?
This thing has had Will long enough. Let's kill the son of a bitch.
Oh boy, this one. This one is the one that really pisses me off the most. 11 and her fate. Ross Duffer on the One Last Adventure documentary had this to say about 11.
I know we all talked about the trauma that she's experienced, and I think that you have to be able to move on from that.
I always thought that she kind of represents magic, and so she has to leave.
Yeah.
She has to be gone in order for them to move on.
Yeah.
Now, Ross, I don't know you, you don't know me, and I don't know anyone who you know, but if to you being experimented on and abused is somehow magical, buddy, I don't want that existence, and I think you need to see a therapist. All jokes aside, though, what a horrible characterization for 11. The story and the journey you took her on from season 1 to season 5. Wow. Really? She went from being a lab rat to finding love between a father figure in Hopper and romantic love with Mike. Mike was the first kid she connected with. I'm not going to say person because I know Benny showed her kindness by feeding her and trying to figure out what was going on with her. But Mike was someone on her level who she found solace in, who found growth, who learned from him. And, she learned from Max in season 3 about being independent and finding her identity outside of the men in her life. She went on a huge arc of growth, and just for it to end because her sister, who she only saw for a day and a half in season 2, who was negative then and said there's no hope for anything, even though she knew then that, hey, I have this love from Mike and Hopper and these other people, there's more to life than this. For her to just decide, yeah, I'm just going to end it on that, especially after getting upset with Hopper that he had a bomb vest on and was going to sacrifice himself to take out Vecna in order to keep her safe. She's going to go off and do that. Now, don't give me that wishy-washy thing of like, well, she might be alive. I mean, Mike and them believe, and that could be a theory that we're running with. No, I wanted something more definitive for 11 and her fate. If any character on this show deserved a happy ending, who needed a happy ending? It was 11. Like, there's no ands, if, or buts about it. 11 deserved a happy ending. And this is my thought. You know, I mentioned earlier, like, what if there was an uneasy alliance between the military and our group? Well, what if, you know, the military wanted Vecna? They were like, okay, this being is clearly more powerful than the girl. We could try to use him against the Russians, like maybe put him under our control somehow or take his blood, something. And because he's dead, they're like, oh, okay, well, you know what? I guess we'll go back to our older option. We'll take you still. And then, you know, Dr. Rowans, who's been MIA this whole time, who maybe could have been there, like helping hide 11 from them or just thwarting Dr. K left and right somehow. Maybe he shows up with a high-ranking general who is like, hey, this whole project has been a headache from, you know, 83 onwards. I mean, this facility was overrun by these beings from another world. We've had to leave. You know, we got found out a little bit in the newspapers, and like, you know, they found out that we covered up Barbara's death and such, and like all this stuff. This child is not worth this headache. And besides, the Cold War is coming in an end. The fact that, you know, we have the benefit of hindsight, and this is fiction, we could, you know, allude to the Cold War ending. I mean, the Cold War ended in like what, 90, and like the Berlin Wall came down in 89. You could have all tied that in with the end of this story, and like maybe they could have taken 11 and, you know, the government shut it down. That would have been a lot more palatable for me than the way y'all went with that character. And the fact that y'all said that the kids needed to move on from what? What is, like, I get 11 thought of herself as a monster, but is that really what you thought of your character? I mean, I get you kind of treat her like a plot point in certain instances with her powers and such, but I don't know, man. With the love that character got and the story we were taking on, you could have done something different instead of sticking with your original anthology ending for that, you know, story in Hawkins. Because I get it, you were going to be an anthology at one point, and then y'all changed course because of popularity, and Netflix was like, we'd rather y'all stick with these characters. Maybe that's not even that. Maybe it's just that you thought that was the way to go ultimately, even besides that point, but I still respectfully disagree.
Don't care.
And now for the things I did like about this season. I liked Volume 1 as a whole, like the big setup and the action beats. Those were great. If that's how you're going to do it, to like split it up in the Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3 for the season, that was a great start. Volume 2 faltered a little bit, and the finale left a lot to be desired in that fight and, you know, some of the characters' fates. But overall, it was a fun ride. Volume 1, though. Volume 1 was really good. Really good starting point. I did like the sneak attack at the Turnbow house when, like, the group had the ingenuity to, like, come up with these traps and the plan to get the Demogorgon and to put a tracker on it. That was really good. I also liked Steve and Dustin's friendship arc. You know, Dustin being angry and upset about Eddie's death and not being able to handle it, and Steve not really knowing how to help his friend and how to be there for him, and being upset that his friend is upset. And the cathartic moment when Dustin pulls Steve off the ladder and pleads with him not to go up there, that he was going to die and he doesn't want that fate to befall him like it did Eddie, and that he couldn't handle it. That moment was so well done, man. You know, Joe Keery's reaction in his eyes, like the shock and surprise of that being verbalized finally, and hearing that from this kid who looks up to him, who looked up to Eddie, and not wanting to have that happen, and just their embrace and him consoling him, even like, you know, telling him not to apologize for when he said he was sorry. That was so well done. Those two together are so great. Nancy Wheeler's moment. Nancy, oh my God. Both her moments, really. The one where she pops out from the truck, you know, shooting the military, and then up in the abyss when they're like, who's going to be bait? And she takes her gun and goes, I am. That was phenomenal. Chef's kiss. No notes. I don't care if someone's like, ugh, girl boss, shut up. You were a more terrible girl boss. I don't need to hear that trash. The whole escape from Camazot's arc between Max and Holly was really well done. I liked all that. I liked the moment with Holly and Max before they walked out. Look, I found this isn't the way you need to go, and giving her a little speech. I know some people were like, man, like this is pretty much not the time to be doing that. You should go. There could have been maybe a little bit more concise way to do it, to get the point across and still be quick. But all in all, I liked that moment. It was really well written. And the whole arc itself was pretty fun. Nell Fisher was a great addition to the show. Derek, another fun addition to the show. Like some of his lines, man. The fact that he decided to, trash talk another worldly being in a moment where he probably shouldn't have was so good. Really good. Just those two kids are great. And I did like what they did with them at the end. I like the epilogue in general. I like that we got more time with our characters, even after the big fight. Like, this is the last season, so I don't mind we get an extra hour and a half with them. That final D&D game, so good. And the acting in that scene, that's a little bit of blending of, reality and fantasy right there. Because for those actors, that was their childhood, and now it's coming to an end. So like seeing them put the books on the shelves and all their like reactions and like tearing up and choked up with emotion, so good. And the way that Mike looks back longingly and happy, but also kind of sad when his kid sister is playing with her friends in D&D, man, really good, really great moment. Now, I know I spent a lot of time talking about the things I didn't like, and I know there's a lot of things that you probably didn't like about this season. But all in all, Stranger Things 5 was fine. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been Game of Thrones Season 8. It could have been Heroes Season 2 through 4. But it wasn't. It was still fun. We had a lot of fun moments with our favorite characters, a lot of epic fight scenes, all the things you could ask for in a final season. And the epilogue, for the most part, stuck the landing. That's all you could ask for, really. And when I go to rewatch this show, I will not have a hint of hatred watching this final season when I get to it. It'll be fine. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me at the JC Vega on all social media platforms. Check out the podcast releasing every Friday, 10:30 locally. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com. Get yourself a Vega's World t-shirt. Support me and my wrestling. Good night and party on.